Hi there. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Tinnitist TV. Today, I'm talking to Nick Vivid, a soul man for our soulless age, a neon prince in a drab gray world, and the owner of the funkiest white boy falsetto this side of the brothers Gibb. Nick Vivid is all of these things and more. But you don't need me to tell you that. One spin through his new album, Volatile, is all it takes to appreciate the many splendors of the multitasking, multi-tracking, multi-talented musician, and to become a charter member of the Subterranean Club, where his retro-futuristic, groovadelic R&B is on heavy rotation from dusk to dawn. From his New York City workshop, where he single-handedly writes, composes, plays, arranges, engineers, and produces every word, melody, chord, and effect of his music, Nick zoomed in to talk about Volatile, doing things in threes, touring Japan, and really anything else that struck our fancy. Because on top of everything else that he is, Nick Vivid is also a great conversationalist. See for yourself.
Daryl,
Nick,
how are you, buddy?
I am good, sir. How are you today?
I'm doing good. Let me see here. There we go. Now I can see you well. Okay. Hi.
All right. Hey.
Hey,
So
you
what's
ready to
new?
do this thing? Let's do this thing. Let's
Let's do this thing. All right.
let's go.
It is good to talk to you again. I can't believe it's been like 4 years.
4 years. Yeah, since the last album.
Yes,
Yeah,
that is
crazy.
the longest time you have taken between releases, if I am correct.
That is correct. Yes.
Why? What happened?
Well, it took the songs just weren't coming together as fast as I wanted them to come together. That's one. I did two tours, did tour Japan. That was
Hmm.
great. But yeah, mostly it was just the timing. Just the songs. They just, they show up when they want to show up. I can't force them to do what I want them to do. If it were me, like I would do like old school, like, back in the
Every
80s.
6 months, like the Beatles?
Yeah, or like REM in the 80s, like by
Yeah,
like
yeah.
clockwork, you could set your watch to them putting out a new
Uh-huh.
album every year or something like that. I would love to be that prolific, but
Uh-huh. So you're
I,
not a
I
so you're not a songwriter who can like turn on the spigot,
well, I do. I mean, I'm writing all the time, but
right?
I think at this point, I'm so critical of my own work that I listen back to, I'll do hundreds of ideas for each record,
Mm.
but
Yeah, obviously.
when I listen back to most of them, I go, that's not good enough, And so for me, it's always this kind of, I need things to have a certain kind of feel to them for them to make it to the record. Plus, songs go through iterations and all sorts of changes. And, one song may start off as a dance track and then end up slowing down tremendously in key changes. And, that happens several times on each record, really. And I just kind of got to go with how, their pace. I got to
Uh,
let the songs kind of tell me where they want to go, and then they kind of let me know when they're done. And whenever that happens is whenever that happens. And this time it just happened to take 4 years. Next time it may
wow.
not,
Uh-huh.
but that's just kind of the thing. It really is just I gotta let the songs dictate the pace, and I can't rush it. And there's no point to rushing it these days, with the
Yeah,
with the
true.
way the industry is. It's like I'm going to be promoting this record for several years, and I got to make sure I got something I'm really proud of and go, yeah, if I'd only spent another month on it, or if I'd only
Right.
spent another 6 months on it. And I don't ever want to feel like that. And luckily I don't feel like that about any of the records I put out so far. I feel like that was the statement I made, and I made it to the best of my ability. And so there's a quality, level there with it. So I just, it's just how long it took because of those factors.
Well, you mentioned the quality level, and I have to agree with you because when I listen to your stuff, it is very crafted. You can tell that you've spent a lot of time on every aspect of it. The melody, the beat, everything fits together like a puzzle. yeah, and then you go on to the performances of what you're physically playing and the production and the mixing. It's like there are so many levels of things going on in your songs that it's almost deceptive because you can listen to the songs and just appreciate them as pop music. But if you really sort of put on the headphones and focus on them, you hear all the little production things, the bit of echo on the vocals that bounces from the left to the right, or all these little touches. I mean, it that just must take ages and ages and ages just to physically do all that stuff. Do you never get bored of a song while you're working on it?
Yeah, I will. And those are the ones that don't make the record.
Uh-huh. Okay. So it
Yeah,
has to kind of sustain your
it's
interest
it's
and
it's
yeah,
gotta it's
yeah.
gotta last. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's gotta feel like something that I go, I'm gonna still like this in a couple of years, you know?
Right.
And yeah, it's the details. It's all the
Yes.
details. And I'm thinking of those things as I'm writing. I'm
Right.
thinking of those things. There's certain things like if I end up picking up a guitar, and I never do this, but let's just use this for the sake of argument. I sit there and I play like a G chord to a D chord to an A chord, like singer-songwritery
Yeah, yeah.
kind
Yeah.
of standard chord progressions and
Uh-huh.
stuff, and I'll sing a melody over top of it. And then I say to myself, that's boring. You know,
Uh-huh.
there's not that like edge and that excitement and that little thing that happens with it where it kind
Right.
of like the edges need to be sharp. You know, everything needs to
Yes.
have like a little bit of where it's like I feel like that kind of music for me, like it feels a little too rounded, a little too
Hmm.
just kind of sitting there, and it, like always have this kind of dynamic edge. And so I'm thinking of always in those terms of going, is this streamlined enough? Is this hook kind of got that sharpness to it? Has it got that
Right.
that little thing in it that just kind of grabs you, you know?
Hmm.
And if it's not dynamic and exciting enough, it I tend to think it's forgettable, and I just go, that's not really gonna work. So yeah, it's all that stuff, production wise and all the details. Yeah. So
Yeah. I mean, are there versions of songs where, let's say, for example, you'll have the whole thing down, and then all of a sudden at the 11th hour, some idea will pop into your head and you sort of have to go, okay, well, then I'm scrapping this version and I'm starting from scratch again to incorporate this new idea.
yeah, a couple songs in the record were like because what'll tend to happen in those situations, I'll be like, listen, I this has enough things going for it. So like maybe a lyric or a melody or something. I go,
Right.
I really believe in this song, but it's just not happening, and I don't
Mhm.
know why. And
Yeah.
I'll have sleepless nights over this kind of stuff. And and I'll say to myself, what, and then I'll start messing with it. Luckily with the
Mhm.
computer, you slow it down, change the key, you
Right.
play it backwards. Like, what's it gonna take to get this thing to turn into something that it wants to be? You
Right. So
know,
a lot of
uh,
it is just kind of sitting and fiddling with your own music and
fiddle, looking for that thing that
panning
it
for
tells
gold.
me,
Yeah.
yeah, mining for gold,
Yeah.
exactly. So like a song like Moving Targets
Hmm.
on this record uh ended up being much slower, but it was about it was double time of what it currently is. And I had more of this kind of like 70s kind of it sounded like I don't know, something you'd see in like a Hawaii 5-0 episode, like these kind of like
Da 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 da
yeah, it's got a
da.
boom, ba boom, ba boom, ba
Uh-huh.
it's just kind of like this, like, where's the
Right.
hitman's around the corner kind of music,
Uh-huh.
and it's like, yeah,
I'd like to
and it
hear that
just,
version.
yeah, it wasn't bad, it wasn't bad, but at the
Uh-huh.
same time, and you can hear actually like the intro of the song, you hear this little drum roll at the
Right.
beginning of the song that comes in, and that's the only thing left over from that version
Okay.
is the little drum roll that goes into ba ba da ba ba da ba ba da, and it just got old quickly to me as I was listening
Uh,
to it. I go, again, like I'll just kind of be sitting there going, but do I
it seems
do I
like you
love
could put
it?
out a whole album of like, I mean, years ago there was a
Alternate
Stooges.
versions.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
not only alternate versions, but the evolution. It's like years ago there was a Stooges box set of Funhouse, and that
Oh, that
included
thing's
like
great.
yeah, that every take where you can hear the songs evolving as the lyrics are
Hmm.
changing and they're changing the parts and tightening it up. It seems like you could do that with some of these songs.
Yeah, what I see, I came up with something years ago. It's like all musicians suck at songwriting. We just don't let you hear the demos.
Yeah, well, yeah, yeah.
It's like where everything's bad until you just get those couple. It's like, wow, that's a great album. Yeah, well, you didn't hear all the stuff that
Yes.
wasn't very good that led up to this good record, you know?
Yeah, a friend
So
of mine interviewed Tom Petty, and that was kind of literally, what he said. Or the guy said, all these great songs, and he just went, "Well, we don't let you hear the bad ones." As
yeah,
simple as that, right? That
yeah,
stays,
it's
it stays
totally true.
buried. You're like a doctor. The ones that die, they just get buried, and
Yeah, and sometimes I'll go back and I'm pleasantly surprised. There's a song on the record, this the softest landing,
hmm
which had a totally different version that was like one of the first things I ended up writing for the record that I really liked. And that had more of a like a I have a song called 247 on my Blissed Out record. It had more of a 247 vibe to it. It was like more of a mid-rangey, dancey kind of thing. And I listened to that only like maybe a month ago, and I was like, that version's actually pretty good. Maybe I'll re-record the vocal, or I'll transfer the vocal over onto that version from the finished one that I have now and maybe release it as a B-side or something because it's not half bad. I kind of liked it listening back to it. So there's some things I get pleasantly surprised with that. I go, yeah, maybe that should see the light of day at some point.
Yeah, I mean, I find that with my older work too, because I mean, when you're doing something, when you're in the middle of doing it, it's kind of like, I suck, and this is awful, and this is, and then you just, you get it done and you move on, and then you come back like a year later, and you go, oh, this isn't half bad, because you can, you're removed from the process of it, where you were sitting there banging your head against the wall.
Right, right. Or sometimes you hear that little thing finally that helps you finish it, you
Yeah,
know? So like some of the songs on this record were songs that go back 10 years and they just
really.
weren't, yeah, I just didn't think they worked on any of the previous records and they finally worked on this one.
And
And so
how do
I,
you, I mean, do you have like a big vault of, I mean, I'm guessing obviously, because you work on hundreds of ideas, like you said. So you must have a vast file of archived of the things you've saved and things you've tried and things that are in the process. How do you figure out, where and how and when to delve into that? Or are you walking down the street one day and all of a sudden something pops into your head and you go, oh, that's the chorus I need for that song that's been sitting in the hard drive for 5 years.
all of that, yeah,
Right? Okay.
that happens. So one of the like I have a couple different ways that I go, but I have a little voice recorder app on my phone, and
Sure.
I'll demo a lot of ideas on that. And I also have just my studio here, so I'm also just venturing into go right into a recording process, find a beat, and like just so I'll do some song ideas that way. But yeah, for the most part, I just have like this kind of vast collection. Then usually around every album, I'll go back to the previous
Right.
one, years worth of ideas or whatever, and I'll catalog as to which ones still hold up and which ones don't. And I'll take those and throw those in a folder. And right now I have like a playlist of song demo ideas from the last 10 years that I think are good,
Right.
and then I can mine those, or something will finally hit me. I'll go, that one's pretty good. I should really try to do something with that this time around, or something like that. So yeah, there's like kind of like a best of unreleased ideas playlist that I
Right.
have that I start with, and then I'll tend to like, use that for a little bit here and a little bit there. There's yeah, one of the songs on the new record, Stone Cold Rainbow, that all
Mhm.
those ideas are like 10 years old. And that whole
Oh, okay.
song just
Yeah.
was like just a thing that finally made sense to do now at the previous records. Like I just don't really hear that working in the context of these other songs,
Right.
but
And
this
I'm guessing
time
some things start to fit in after you've got a context, like where you're going, maybe you've got three or four songs and a pattern starts to emerge or themes start to come out, and then it becomes,
yep,
oh, you know what? This one from back then probably will fit in here, and you know.
yep,
Yeah.
yep, that's exactly what happens. That's exactly what happens. And so it's just that kind of natural progression of things. And don't be afraid to just take whatever I've got that, well, I never do that thing to myself where it's like, well, that's an old idea. I don't only want to use new ideas. I'll use anything I got.
Right.
I'll go back to things that I did when I was 5, and
Do you
if it's
have
gonna
things you
work,
did?
if it works, I'll use it,
So we're gonna have the "I Want Cookies for Dinner" song coming up. Is that the?
Yeah, did I do that one? No, I never wrote one, but that's,
Work on that, yeah.
yeah.
Uh,
I'll work.
so talking about the comparison, I went back and listened to the whole catalog basically, but I was listening to the last one too, just to sort of see the contrast. And for me, Volatile, the new one, feels a little well, I mean, all of your albums are kind of nocturnal to me
Yeah.
anyway. Like, your albums to me should be issued with like I don't know, some edibles and a smoke machine, and because they're all just sort of set
Yeah.
in this nether world to me anyway.
Yeah,
But
yeah, that's fine.
this one feels a little darker. It feels a little later in the night, as it
Mm-hmm.
were. I mean, for me, the last one, you talked about angles. No More Secrets to me had sort of sharper elbows in a lot of the songs. A
Mm-hmm.
little more P-funky, a little more
Mm-hmm.
upbeat and edgy. And this one feels a little more, I don't want to say
Moody.
somber because that would not be it, but sinister, I think might be the word that I'm looking for. Um, is that anything that makes sense to you, or
Yeah, it makes sense. It wasn't conscious
mhm,
to
it
do
just comes
that.
out how it comes
It
out? Yeah.
just comes out how it comes out. Now, I will say, um, stylistically,
Hmm.
the main difference between those two records in particular was um, that No More Secrets, in a lot of ways, was based off of a time when I was getting back into samples.
Mm.
That I had a clearance for legal samples. Everybody,
Hmm.
just so you all know. So,
Yeah, because everybody's
so
watching my show to catch you in your sampling. Yeah.
yeah, I don't want to get busted.
The lawyers are tuning in. Yeah.
So so that was based on a lot of samples,
Mm.
and also, yeah, I was just happened to be in a place where I was listening to a lot of obscure um underground soul, like 70s soul, like later soul,
Hmm.
not 60s soul, but like more 70s stuff, jazz, a lot of underground jazz stuff. It just happened to be where I was at the time. This one was more based on me wanting to make sounds out of things I like cheap keyboards. So like I've
Mm.
got like old Casio keyboards. Like, here, let me show you 1 second.
Sure.
Um, so this is my Casio MT68 keyboard, and see, of course, with the blocker thing, it won't.
Yes.
If it's not my face, it'll blur
It's
it
your
out.
fuzzy
But
keyboard. Yes.
yeah,
There you
I'll
go.
put it next to my face so it doesn't block it out. But anyway, this keyboard I've written 90% of all my songs on. I don't know
And
what it
what?
is about
Yeah.
this keyboard, but I just write on it all the time.
Okay.
So, and then I was like, that thing's got such a great sound, but it's not professional. But what, and a good buddy of mine who also
What is
records a lot of
professional?
music.
Yeah.
Well, like that, we were talking about, like, there's all these like lo-fi
Yeah.
musicians who have like really great gear, but they record it really badly.
Hmm.
And we were like, what if you took like really cheap stuff, really crappy instruments and cheap instruments, but recorded them with like precision, with like
Hmm. Yeah.
studio, like just total competency, and like
Yeah.
top of the line microphones and professional gear. And so kind of this record, like one of the challenges sonically for me was to like have these songs that were more based on these instruments,
Mm.
and just maybe the way they came out was like that, and so again, I'm in a different place in my life than I was 4 years ago, but I'm also using technologically
Yeah.
and sonically trying to make different challenges for myself. So to make a very roundabout way to your question, I guess that's some of the things that lent itself to this record possibly having more of a darker vibe to it. Um,
Mm.
but and thematically, there was I had gone through just the personal life stuff. I'd gone through the loss of my parents around the
Mm.
time of No More Secrets.
Condolences. Yeah.
And thank you. And but this one was me going through all the aftermath of my entire life, and seeing my how I got to New York, and a lot of the craziness that happened to me in my life. So there was like this kind of like, looking at different aspects of my life and going through different things, and some of that stuff I was like, there's a level of vulnerability and honesty I like to have in my songs,
Hmm.
and where I'm at in my life, and I was kind of doing like a big time life review, um about all the madness of my move to New York City, and how wild it was. And so a lot of that lends itself to kind of darker, kind of a darker, moodier vibe. So, but also I like my records to sound like they should be played at night anyway.
Yeah,
There's
it's
a
not it's not Sunday morning brunch music.
no, it's not. And it's like some of it, like I just have a vision in my head, like of
Hmm.
like um traffic on the street at night, the lights
Hmm.
from the tail lights of the cars going down the street, and the
Yeah.
building lights being on, and I just feel like my music, I just picture that in my mind a lot when I write. uh so yeah, there's all those different things to it, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, it's
there's
definitely music that you should hear wafting out of an underground club as you walk down the
I would
rainy
hope
streets.
so. I would
Yeah,
hope
you know.
so. I would hope that would be where you hear it.
Yeah. Is it just me, or are you playing more guitar on this album?
Yeah, there's probably more guitar on this record. Yeah, I layered a lot of guitar parts. I've got a couple different guitars, and there's some acoustic stuff. I've never done acoustic guitar in any of
Yes.
my
Well, yeah. There's the
records.
one. Which song is it? "Learn to Run," I think is
Yeah,
basically like. Yeah.
Learn to Run is like an acoustic track. So there's
Yeah.
me branching out a little bit with that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a yeah. That was unexpected, but and again, I'm amazed at how you can have all these things fit seamlessly because you've got all the keyboard stuff and this and that, but then Learn to Run comes on, and it took me a couple of spins through before I even noticed, hey, wait a minute, this is like an acoustic guitar
Yeah.
ballad, because it just it all flows and fits together. So congrats on the sequencing there.
Oh, thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, that one I really liked. And yeah, I really like that song. That was just kind of one of those like personal songs that it just took a lot of work to get it right, but it
Hmm.
was another one of those ones I go, I can't give up on this. This one I got to figure out. So that
Yeah.
one kind of stayed its original kind of course the whole way through. And luckily, again, I have ideas in my head, but then when I went to record the acoustic part with, which is finger picked,
Right.
and I'm not the world's greatest finger picker by any means, but it worked. I listened back
Hmm.
to it and I go, oh, this works.
Right. Yeah.
That was lucky. So
I
sometimes
mean,
I
when
have
you
ideas and they don't
yeah.
work, and then that one did. So
Yeah. But when you're physically recording these things, obviously the drums are programmed, but how
mhm.
much like for example, maybe are you cheating a lot in terms of, okay, I got through that finger picked passage once and now I'm going to loop it and just use it
Well,
over and
that
over again,
one.
or are you sitting there with a guitar and going through the whole song for a take, you know?
That one I did the whole take. That one actually I
Hmm.
did. A buddy of mine, I did a couple things at his place. I actually did play some live drums on this record, actually.
Oh, which
There,
songs?
well, on Learn to Run, the
Okay.
end part, there's a live drum playing over the top of the program drums.
Ah.
And that's me. There's a little drum bit at the top of Volunteer, which is
Mm.
just a do, 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 da.
Yeah.
That's me playing live drums. Um, there was one other thing. I can't remember what it was. And then
Oh.
but for Learn to Run, we did like 6 takes of acoustic guitar maybe, and
Mm.
then by accident I just happened to play them all back together on top of each other at the same time, and I was going to pick like a little bit of this one and a little bit of that take, and I was just going to kind of splice together a best of
Right.
take. But then I accidentally heard all six played simultaneously, and I said that actually sounds fine. I'm just going to leave that. So
Yeah,
it's
well,
all
a happy
it's
accident.
all
Yeah.
it's all 6 takes of my acoustic guitar of Learn to Run played at the same time.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, I like that. And I also like the fade out on the last song, the on Stone Cold Rainbow, where you go into that. It starts off kind of as a one finger keyboard melody, but then it's like all of a sudden it's two
Little
and three,
things,
and yeah,
yeah,
it kind of slowly builds and all that. Yeah. Is
yeah.
that melody from something? Because when I first time I heard it, I went, Christ, this sure reminds me of something.
I know.
Did you steal that?
I was swearing to God I stole it from Duran Duran, but I listened to the song. I thought I stole it from the chauffeur from Duran Duran. Then I listened to the chauffeur. I'm like, well, that's not that. So
All
I have
right.
no
Oh,
idea.
good.
I probably ripped it off from somebody, but I have no idea.
Oh, that's all right. Artist steal. That's the way it works.
Yeah.
The other thing I kind of noticed musically about this, in terms of time signatures, there's a lot of threes and sixes on this album.
Mm,
Not just
really?
4/4 passages, you know. I mean,
Hmm.
None of Your Business has that. Is that 6/4, you know, kind of
Oh yeah.
structure
Okay.
to
Yeah.
it.
Hmm.
Moving Targets, the chorus has that sort
Three,
of
four.
thing.
Yeah. Hmm.
There's a bunch of them on this album. Like several songs go in that
Volunteer.
direction.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is
Yeah.
that I mean, was there something you were listening to that kind of influenced the way you were
I've
thinking rhythmically?
always no, I've always loved odd time signatures. When I was, my first instrument's drums,
Yeah,
and I used to love playing drums in 7/8. I just used to
sure.
love playing 7/8, and also like for a lot of songs, I always love when a band will like kill one note right before they go to the chorus. So like
Right.
so like None of Your Business does that thing where it's like
Yeah.
boom dun 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 dun. It's like it
Yep.
kind of like, whoa, hold on. I thought maybe you would get two more notes before you got to the chorus,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it sneaks things in a little sooner and makes again the hook element of it. I always
Yeah.
like kind of like how those types of things happen. So probably rhythmically, that's really all I'm listening for is you know what serves the song and what fills the what if 4/4 is sometimes if a 4/4 beat feels a little wasteful, I can take one beat out of it,
Yeah.
and then make it feel a little more streamlined and give it more of that edge that I'm looking for.
Well, I
um
like it on the album. It really feels almost like a little, for me anyway, like a little mini theme of the, musically. And it does keep the songs, keeps you on your toes as you're listening, because again, I think we're all programmed for 4/4. And then when somebody turns it to three or sets it up in a polyrhythm like you do in a bunch of these songs where the melody will be sort of six beats against the 4/4 backdrop, it grabs your ear. It makes you go, hey, what's going on there? Because it's
yeah,
not just the usual
right,
thing you're ready for.
right. And that's that's what I love. I love the things that keep the listener interested.
Yeah.
I don't want to, I don't want to, I don't want my records to be like, see, look how great I am. Like I really want, like I want my records to be like,
Well, there's your next
oh,
album
look,
title.
look how great I am. Look how smart I am. I can write songs. I'm not interested in any of that. I really want like I want the listener to like, I if I'm listening to a record, I want to be
Yeah.
challenged, and I want to be like, I see what he did there. I
Yeah.
want to feel like there's little inside jokes that maybe I'm
Hmm.
the only one who gets, or that there's little like oh I yeah, arrangements can be playful. Arrangements can have humor to
Hmm.
them, and
Hmm.
they can have like little bits of sparkle to them that when the listener hears it, they go, ah, that was yeah, I get it,
Yeah.
and I think that kind of, just certain things I'll hear and they just put a little smile on my face because oh, like that's cute, and so I
Yeah.
love putting those kind of elements in my records.
Yeah, and there's a lot of joy in your songs, I think, in the sounds, and the falsetto, I think, kind of helps because it's hard to not have, that just has an inherent joy to it. I mean, even on some of your sadder songs, even on the softest landing or things like that, they're not depressing songs.
Yeah, and I think that helps for me
Hmm.
because I like writing these like darker themes and
Hmm.
more, I'm a big Cure fan, but I don't want to be the Cure, I want
Right. Yeah.
so it's like I like the fact that when I figured out I could do falsetto and that singing like these types of songs with that kind of voice kind of took some of the heaviness off, yet
Hmm.
didn't detract from the message and didn't detract from the impact of the message. Maybe it made it a little stronger because it took a little bit of the, took a little bit of the self pity out of it.
Hmm.
and because that's not what I'm interested in at all. I don't want my songs to ever feel like I'm feeling sorry for myself, or that I want the listener to feel sorry for me. And
Hmm.
so I think that just adds adds a little bit of that levity, that's necessary for the kind of
Yeah.
music that I want to put out there. So it
Did
helps.
you, talking about the falsetto, is that something that, I mean, have you always sung that way since you were a kid, or was there a certain point when,
Mm.
when you kind of came across it and sort of went, ah, Eureka, this is my voice, you know?
I don't know. I guess I was doing it when I played in rock bands. Sometimes I would do like, like little Rolling Stones kind of like woo
Hmm.
hoo hoos kind of thing, but like, um, it never really dawned on me until I started doing this kind of music that it could be a regular thing. I guess like I heard
Uh-huh.
Justin Hawkins from The Darkness do it all the time, but even
Sure.
that did like, oh, that's a great idea. Like I never saw that as my thing. I think when I started doing this kind of music and it was more like soul R&B based, I was like, well, I'm gonna. I guess I'll have to go to my falsetto and start
Uh-huh.
rolling with it a little more, and I just enjoyed it, and
Yeah.
it kind of just started working, and so I just made it a regular part of my thing.
Well, now you're stuck. Now you're
Yeah,
trapped in it.
have to do it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's either that or you got to go for the sub bass. The Papa was a
yeah,
Rolling Stone,
yeah. And I never had that real like rock
No.
soul voice.
Uh-huh.
I had a better when I was a smoker, I had a better rock voice, but I don't smoke anymore, so I'm like, I
How dare
know.
you not sacrifice your throat for your health? Look what it did for Tom Waits. Come on, man.
I know, right? I should
I
have,
was going to wear my
yeah.
Nick Vivid shirt, by the way, just to make you stare at yourself the entire time we
I'm
talk.
already staring at myself right now with this thing.
Ah,
So
yeah, that's it.
we're good. Yeah,
Your
thanks.
dream, buddy,
But
your dream.
I'm good.
Uh-huh. So talking about doing all this yourself, I would think it's really easy to, I don't know, get up your own butt, and kind of lose your way or go down rabbit holes. I mean, do you have or want people that serve as sounding boards? I mean, do you have somebody who, when you're like midway through something, you go, "Hey, can you listen to this? What do you think of this?" Or do you just kind of chase it down yourself until and everybody else's opinion is like, forget it, that's not a factor.
Yeah, I mean, I'll play my girlfriend's stuff and, but it's more just to be like, "Oh wow, check this out."
Hmm.
It's more like that.
Look at how great I am.
Look how great I am. Can you believe it? The king has done it again.
Bat the thousand.
Batting 1,000. Mickey Mantle wishes he could do this. So, so yeah, it's more. No, I my own
You
criticism of
trust
my
you
own
trust
work.
your own instincts,
Yeah, I trust
basically.
my own instincts. Yeah, I
Uh-huh.
trust my own instincts. I'm not worried about, it's either good or it's not good.
Right.
And again, do I want to listen to it? And I'm
Right.
honest enough with myself to be like, dude, this one really sucks. You should just get
That's
rid of
that's the
it.
trick though, isn't it though? Is not being precious with it, is not having everything be your precious babies. Is that a skill you had to
Yeah.
learn?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think you just eventually write so much music that you stop.
Mhm.
That whole aspect of
I
preciousness.
created something, therefore it's great. Yeah, after
The
you
very
when
first
you're
song I wrote was, of course, the greatest thing in the world, but
yeah,
it was
yeah,
the only song I'd ever written. And now
yeah.
that I've written 20,000 songs,
Hmm.
I'm just trying to make a good record now. I could care
Right.
less. I don't need the gratification or the esteem that comes from getting recognized for my songwriting prowess or
Hmm.
anything like that. So or to be like, either I write a song that I go, hey, that's really good, or
Hmm.
hey, it's okay. I write a lot of clunkers and it's fine, absolutely fine.
Sure.
So yeah, I don't have any hangups about any of that. I either write really good stuff or I write really awful stuff. And again, 90% of it is relatively forgettable. But again, I almost can't tell until a couple months later. So I'll just record everything, and then in a couple months I'll listen back and I'll see what still sounds good.
What holds up? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But in terms of the actual physical creation of this stuff, wouldn't it be easier to have a band?
No. No.
Because
I've
you'd
been
have to
in
deal with
bands.
people?
I've been in bands,
Yeah,
and they don't know what the hell they're doing.
right.
No, that's not true. All the time.
No, it
But
is true.
well, like let's say for instance, the last band I was in,
Uh-huh.
they were called the Nuclears, and that we had three songwriters in the band, four actually, including
Mm,
me. And they were all really good. And so
mm,
there was a mutual respect. But I've been in other bands where I was the only songwriter. And then
mm,
people would, and the problem is then once you start getting recognized, then everybody gets jealous. And then
mm.
everybody wants to be like, hey, what about my songs? And
Right.
all
Yeah.
this kind of stuff. Well, if you wrote any songs,
Yeah.
throw them in the mix. There's
Yeah.
there's problems with that come from that kind of thing when you're the only songwriter in a band. Plus, that kind of uh that kind of thing goes both ways. So there's jealousy coming at you from them because they're not writing songs, and you're getting angry at them because you're dragging everybody along with you.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so
You
there's
got to
this
put
kind of,
Stuart Copeland's song on the album, and
yeah. Again, like I have no problem with anybody. The last band I was in,
Mhm.
a couple great songwriters in the band. It was mostly their material, and I loved doing it, and it was great.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, those times when you're in a band and then you realize, the bass player he's like, hey, check out, okay, cool, let's check out some of my songs. And you realize, oh, this is the worst music I've ever heard in my entire life. And now I'm stuck in a band with this guy.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
It's like,
All
I've
right.
had that experience, but,
Uh-huh.
we didn't do his songs, by the way. So
Uh-huh.
believe me,
Uh-huh.
everybody's better off for it.
The world is better off for
The
it.
world is a better place for it.
When you're, and I think I already know the answer to this, but I'm just wondering if when you're making the record, does having to then take it out of the box and take it onto a stage factor in at that point in any way, shape, or form?
Not anymore because I've got enough live material that
Mm.
now it's like I think there's only going to be like two songs from this album that make it to the stage,
Mm.
because maybe three, because
Hmm.
I like my shows to be more upbeat anyway. So the slower
Right.
numbers,
Hmm.
probably not going to be performed live. And the show's like a greatest hits, a best stuff. So
Right. Right.
I already kind of know what those songs are going to be, and I just do a different mix of those songs, and I send it off to my mastering engineer, and he has like a mastering style that he does for my live show. So he kind of makes all the tracks work together, even
Mm.
from the stuff from the old records that I do live. And then I put the show together and then it goes out like that. But yeah, no, I don't really worry about that now because I've got enough material that even if only one
Right.
song was like good enough, like in my mind, good enough for the live show that I thought would work in front of an audience. So yeah, I think I have less pressure to do that now than I probably did when I made my first couple of records.
Right. And you mentioned up at the top that you went to Japan with the last album.
Hmm.
Was that your first time over there?
Yeah, yeah, it was great. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to ask, tell me about that. It sounds like it would be just a wild thing to do.
It was a blast because I'm I'm an independent artist. I've literally nobody backing me. Nobody, just it's all hustle. It's all 24/7. I live for this hustle. So when I go to Japan, I go to Nagoya, and kids come up to me and be like, I traveled from Tokyo to come see you tonight,
Yeah,
2 hours on the bullet train.
yeah,
And they're like, I'm like, well, I'm playing Tokyo next week. They're like, yeah, but I'm going to see Beyonce in New York. And so I wanted to make sure I got to see you.
uh-huh.
And you say to yourself, you know, I have fans in other countries that I've never been to before who will travel 2 hours to see me perform.
Nice.
It just blows my mind. It just blows my mind the power of this whole thing that on your own, you can do it. You may not be playing Madison Square Garden, though I don't really want to play Madison Square Garden. I'd love to play the Beacon Theater, but I don't really care about Madison Square Garden. But
Uh-huh.
that being said, the trip was great. I got to go do a lot of great photo shoots in Kyoto. You know,
Yes.
you played the first show in Fukuoka, and then you go to like a little outdoor coffee thing, and you're just celebrating. Like, I played my first gig in Japan. This is amazing. I'm halfway around the world, and
Yeah.
and so yeah, it's just great, just to have fans show up and people, that know you because of your music, and you unite people because of your music, and
Did they,
it's just
were there
amazing.
things that they appreciated? I mean, did they get you in Japan in a different way? Did they like aspects of of your music that maybe were things that, other audiences don't get, or was it just the same as playing a gig, at the neighborhood bar or club,
I think there is a type of fan that I have that's universal. I've noticed
Hmm.
so far, and it's they remind me of me. My
Sure.
fans remind me of me. They remind me of that kid I was when I was younger, who dreamed about it, never thought he could do it, and was so far away from it that it never seemed possible.
Hmm.
And I was a bit of a loner and a bit of an outsider, but I had great taste in music. And that's what I think of my fans.
Uh-huh.
That's what I think of my fans. They show up. Usually, it's not like I have a whole, sometimes they come with a couple friends, but a lot of them show up alone, and they show up
Hmm.
by themselves, and
You're
they
not making
watch the
this
show.
sound better.
What?
You're not making this sound better.
No, I'm not, because no, but this is the thing.
Uh,
This is they chose
yeah, I get it.
they chose to believe in me, something about what I do resonates with a part of them that hits them on a
Very
personal
personal
level.
level. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's a very personal thing, and it's just like they're just beautiful people, and all of my
Yeah.
fans who show up at my gigs are just like, they just show up, and I hope, yeah, I didn't really mean to make that sound disparaging at all. It just
Ah,
reminded me.
I was
I
pulling your leg.
Oh, okay, because like I would go to shows by myself when I was younger, and I wouldn't talk to
Exactly.
anybody, and I would just show
Yeah.
up and see the band that I loved, and I'd leave.
There are two
And
kinds of people in this world when it comes to concerts. There's the people for whom it has to be a social thing where they go with their
yeah,
friends and who would never dream of going to see a show alone. And then there's
hmm
people like you and people like me and people like a lot of my friends who are like, oh no, nobody wants to go see this band with me. Whatever. I'll go get one ticket and go.
yeah, and those are the people who come to see me play. They like, we love the music,
Yeah.
and they just light up, when I like sign an
Hmm.
autograph or I take a photo with them, and it's like, I know what that felt like
Yeah.
when I was younger, and I'd go to see a band, and I'd be like, oh my God, taking a photo with this guy, this is awesome.
Uh-huh.
And it's just amazing to like have that be, have that happen to me, in another country. It's
Yeah,
like,
that's awesome.
yeah, it's
Uh,
wild.
is the Nick Vivid that they meet the same Nick Vivid I'm talking to, or am I even talking to Nick Vivid?
Yeah, this is what you see is what you get.
Okay.
I'm always, I mean, when I mean, I dress up for this, but like, I'll dress up when I go out to do my laundry. You know what I mean? Like, if I walk out of my apartment, I'm not wearing shorts. I'm always got like my bell bottoms on, and I got, sometimes I'll put on jewelry just to go shopping for food, because I,
Uh-huh.
I it's, it's, it's that important to me
Uh-huh.
that it always presents itself as a very static thing, that whatever you expect me to be, I want to be that. So no matter if I happen to see somebody who knows who I am on the street, I don't want them to be disappointed with what they get.
Uh-huh.
And it's that I just think that much of it. It's just that important to me, where
Uh,
I'm
uh,
always this 24/7 outside. Inside, maybe I'll just, have my feet up and wearing shorts and a t-shirt and watching football. But you would never know that, because I'll never let you see that.
Well, it reminds me one time many years ago I interviewed Dolly Parton, and she said that she had tried at some point to go out Christmas shopping and took off the wig and didn't wear any makeup and had a, I don't know, a hat or a scarf or something or whatever, your standard kind of dressing down, trying to blend
Right.
in thing.
Trying to not
And
get the attention of the paparazzi, right?
yeah, yeah. And she was in some store somewhere and people came up to her and were like, "Aren't you Dolly Parton?" And she could see that they were disappointed that,
Hmm.
she just looked like a regular person. She said, "Yeah," and then immediately left the store, went home, got all dolled up, and then, has never gone out since without being Dolly.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
the same kind
Yeah.
of thing. You're
It's
a
it's
thing.
it
Yeah.
means that much to me. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
important to me to always be that when I walk
Mhm.
down the street.
Have you changed your name to Nick Vivid legally?
Yes.
So that's the name
So
on your driver's license and
yeah, on my credit card, yeah, my passport. When I was in Japan, Nick Vivid was in Japan. Yeah,
nice.
I had it legally changed years ago. It wasn't until, it's really funny. I didn't legally change it for years, uh, for my family, actually.
Uh-huh.
I don't think some of them didn't like that I even was Nick Vivid, you know, like
Professionally, yeah.
professionally,
Yeah.
because it was like, how dare you bring disgrace to the family by, are you that
Ashamed? Yeah.
ashamed? Are you that ashamed of us that you want, I'm like, oh God, shut up. But,
Well, would
but
your
after,
real name have worked as a stage name?
no, I
Yeah.
don't think so. And
Yeah.
I didn't, I didn't hate it, but
No, no.
I came
Yeah,
up
yeah.
with Nick Vivid when I moved to New York, and I was like, I'm
Right.
going to be this. I'm going to come up with something, and then I'm going to be that when I get to New York. And so I
Does
came
any
up,
of it have to do with your real name? I mean, is your real name
no,
Nick?
no.
Okay, so it's all an
I
invention.
came up with Vivid first,
Uh-huh.
and then I was like, another Duran Duran reference. I always thought Nick Rhodes from Duran Duran looked
Ah,
really cool, and I was like,
uh-huh.
yeah, Nick Vivid. It's got some
Uh-huh.
sharpness to it. It's got a little
Yeah.
punch,
Yeah.
and I just became Nick Vivid, and I didn't know if I'd be able to, to be able to pull it off. I was one of my last jobs before I moved here. I was working at a Radio Shack and in a shopping plaza, and again, going back to smoking, I used to smoke at the time, and I was outside having a smoke break, and this car drives by, and I hear somebody go, "Hey, Nick," and I instinctively looked up, and I'd already been thinking about it for a few weeks, but then I realized they weren't talking to me because nobody here
Right.
knows me as Nick, but I instinctively looked, and I said, I can make it work.
Yeah.
That was the moment when I was like, I can pull this off. And so yeah, anyway, I've been Nick Vivid ever since, and I had it legally changed to, about somewhere in the last 4 years.
Oh,
And yeah, it was actually very important for me to do that for myself, because it was something I always believed in, and I didn't do that for other people. And then I realized they don't get a vote on my life. This is my life, and this is what I want to do with it. So I became Nick Vivid full
yeah,
time,
exactly.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the meatloaf thing.
Did he do that? Was he
Oh yeah, his
Meatloaf?
name was Meatloaf. Yeah, exactly. That was it
Yeah,
was his
yeah.
legal name. Yeah, and he used to.
Perfect.
What didn't happen to me when I interviewed him, he was fine. But a friend of mine who interviewed him once, literally was just trying to be nice and said, "I don't know what to call you." You
Mr.
know,
Loaf, should I call you
yeah,
meat?
me, Mr. Law, and he went, "Oh, fuck off," and hung up the phone because apparently he gets that all the time and he's sick of
And
hearing it and blah 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 blah.
he thought it was a joke, or
Yeah,
somebody's
he thought the
calling.
guy was ragging on him, but
Right, right.
uh, and then I asked Taj Mahal if that
Mr.
was
Mahal.
well, I said, hey, and I was just, it was an icebreaker. Like, it was like, hi, how are you doing? And I said, this is a silly question, but, is that the name on your driver's license? Does it say Taj Mahal in your, and I thought it was like just a ha ha ha. Well, break the ice, a little joke. Yeah. And he just went, that ain't no kind of question. Like, oh, fuck. All right. Like, we're
Yeah,
off on a good start here. Yeah.
as an interviewer, I imagine there's those times now see, this is me interviewing you. So what's it like when you have those difficult
Yeah, well, you you
decisions?
you backtrack and go, okay, well, let's talk about your album then. I love it. You know. So you've been doing this now for well, at least 10 years, almost 10 years as Nick
Yes,
Vivid.
yeah. This particular solo project. I've been Nick Vivid for like 20 years, but yeah.
In
but
here?
in here or in New York since I've lived in New
Okay.
York.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Oh, so
I've
you were
played
Nick Vivid in other bands.
in other bands. I was
Okay.
Nick
Okay.
Vivid.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
All
So
right. So, I mean, how do you think you've changed in that time?
musically or personally,
Either one?
in the last 10 years,
Yeah.
um,
If that's not too crazy big a question.
no, no, no. I'm way more in touch with myself,
Yeah.
I do a thing called therapy. So I
A
spend
thing
I
called
spend
therapy. You make it sound like it's something
I'm
something
just kidding
different
around.
that you
No,
get in
I
a
was just
back
kidding.
alley
Yeah. Well,
somewhere.
back in the day, you couldn't say that, It's so
Uh-huh.
it's actually very, anyway, I do a lot of self be familiar with where one of the techniques in there is a thing called morning pages. So every day I'll
Mhm.
write 1 to 3 pages in a journal and I will just write whatever's on my mind. And I started doing that about 3 years ago. That was a game changer for me.
Hmm.
Uh, so getting more in touch with myself. I went back to I've lived in New York now like 20 years, and one of the things I did for this record was wanted to go back and go through again. I was saying earlier, like some of the history of my life, and some of the morning pages stuff kind of led me to that, and changing my name led me to that. And I went back to my first apartment in New York, and I hadn't been there in 20 years,
Uh-huh.
and I only lived there for like a year, and so I took the and then I walked around the neighborhood, places I used to go, the post office I used to go to,
Hmm.
walk into the train station and all this stuff. And just saying to myself, man, you know, I didn't know anybody. I didn't know anybody. I didn't know anything. I just had this dream and I just went for it. And I just kind of sat there like talking to my younger self during this trip and saying to myself, damn, dude, you really did awesome.
Yeah.
You did an amazing thing here. Like I can't believe you had the, you had the balls to really just go for it. That's amazing. Like, and it just kind of, it was just kind of this like really nice way to heal my past in a lot of ways. So I've been
Hmm.
doing a lot of that stuff over the last 10 years. So I think there's things that I understand about myself much better if you hear a song maybe with a similar theme on one of my earlier records,
Hmm.
and then you hear a song with a similar thing now. I wonder if there's more of a sense of understanding of that idea that I'm coming at the lyric with now,
Hmm.
more of a sense of closure that I'm coming at an idea with now, more of a sense of acceptance that I'm coming at an idea with now. And I think there's a part of me that has just been on this massive healing journey since I did my first solo record 10 years ago, and I'm kind of inviting everybody along with me on
Hmm.
it, because it's like, that's where you find out who, like a lot of people, like, I don't go on social media and talk about my life on social media. I'll do interviews like this,
Hmm.
but I don't really tell anybody anything about me. And one of the things that uh I belonged to when I was younger, I belonged to a computer demo scene. So like these guys would like on old school 8-bit computers like create demos, and a lot of it's like small worlds, big fish and small pond kind of thing. So like
Uh-huh.
they'd have these like little groups and little cliques and it'd be like
Sure.
talking crap about somebody in the other group, in the demo, they have like little messages. This is for Joe over at, or everybody'd have handles. Nobody would call themselves Joe.
Uh-huh.
This is for Spider over at the at the rude ones,
Uh-huh.
Spider, go F yourself, you loser, and then Spider from the rude ones would be like, oh yeah. And these guys would like have these like wars back and forth between their demos. And there's one
Now
guy
that
in
sounds
this,
sad.
oh, yeah, it would be, but I didn't get involved in that stuff. But the interesting thing about it was there's one guy in the scene was like, somebody was complaining on a message board and they were like, Don't complain on a message board. Put it in a demo.
Mm,
Put it in your art. I hear so many
right.
artists say, people I know who are musicians who just complain about their lives on social media or talk about
Hmm.
everything, but you never hear about it in their songs.
Right. Right.
And I say to myself, isn't that the whole point of the songs? Is to let people know how you feel about things, to
Right.
let people see your growth. And so many people I know don't do that. And
But that's
for
hard to
me,
do, right? I mean, that's when you're really doing it right. Obviously,
yeah, but
you
I'm
know.
just saying for me personally,
Yeah.
like I just like, that's
Hmm.
just my golden rule for myself, put it in the songs, put how you're feeling right now in the song. So yeah, you'll see a progression because that's all the stuff I've been through. And if you really want to get to know who I am, see my lyrics. You'll
Right.
know.
Yeah. It reminds me of that thing David Bowie said once, where it's like you want to be far enough out in the water that you're not quite touching bottom, you know?
Interesting. No, I never heard that one.
Yeah, basically that, you can't play it safe. You got to go out,
Well,
you got to
yeah,
get
and
in over your head kind of thing, you
I
know?
don't I don't think it's I mean, I don't even think it's about playing it safe or not playing it safe. I think it's just
Mm,
about being honest
right.
and being true to yourself and letting the chips fall where they may. Now, maybe the chips fall where they may part is the part that takes a little bit of courage. Uh, but I don't know. I've just never seen anything bad happen to somebody as a result of sharing
Yeah.
who they really are in their music. So
No,
I
and
I say
everybody
I say go
thinks,
for it.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. And because everybody thinks, oh, this is embarrassing, or I'm ashamed of this, or this is, this was dumb, but I mean, nobody
Oh
cares.
yeah,
We're all
we're all
stuck inside
human.
our own heads anyway. We're all just sitting
Yeah.
there going, look at how great I am. Look at how great
Look,
I am.
look at this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
kid does it again. So what's I mean, do you have like a longer term goal?
Yeah. Right now, it's weird. There was a bunch of stuff that was supposed to happen. There's the reason this album's coming out is because two things were supposed to happen that both got postponed or canceled.
Okay.
So one was a tour of the UK,
Hmm.
where I was going to be the opening act for another tour, which has gotten postponed till next summer. But I was like, well, I need to have an album out if I'm going to tour the UK in October. So
Right.
the whole album came out, and then the tour got postponed. Now I have no tour to promote the record with, but that's okay. There will be a tour next year.
Hmm.
The big part is financials. I basically just me and my girlfriend, and we're on our own with the whole thing. So it's been about just getting money saved up, getting the finances together, which is going fine.
Hmm.
It's like that part's okay. So it's just about having everything, all the ducks in a row to go out and do a
Right.
proper tour. So I want to do the U.S. again. We got an old Chevy van that we love to cruise around in. So I built
Uh-huh.
we literally just travel in our van and crash out in like Planet Fitness and Cracker Barrel parking lots, because it's
Oh,
great.
okay. I thought you were actually crashing into Planet Fitness.
No, no, no. So
Uh-huh.
like we'll go on tour. It's like I built a bed in the back. I put solar power on it. I put a fridge in there. I put a
Oh,
kitchen in there, and we just travel around the country
right.
and play the gigs. So we like to do that in America, and then again, I want to go over to the UK, Europe next summer. I want to hit Japan again, to South America. I want to come to Canada. I'd love to come to Winnipeg. Um, I want to go to Alaska.
Uh-huh.
I just have so many things I want to do within the next 5 to 10 years. And, um, and so like, yeah, the idea is just to get that ball rolling and get on a much longer tour, cause I'll do it. We'll have the money saved up. We'll go do a tour and it's like, okay, now
Right.
we got to put some more money together. So now it's
Right.
like, get the money that can sustain the whole thing for a couple of years so it could just get some momentum going. Because I feel
Right.
like every time I start getting a little momentum with touring, I gotta stop and go back to square one. So
Well, and it used to be the way you could make money, and that's kind of gone now too, right?
it's all gone. And
Yeah.
so the whole thing is I'm paying for the privilege of getting to be an artist.
Right.
And a lot of people complain about that. And I probably could complain about it, but I I get to be
It's what you
me.
do. It's who you are.
It's what I
Yeah.
do. Some people
Yeah.
spend their money and go on cruises.
Yeah.
I spend my money and go to Japan, and instead of just being on vacation, I play shows.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
and it's just how I look at it, and I'm, it's just the way it is. I wish it, I believe I am the kind of artist that in the 1970s, a label would have loved to exploit the shit out of me. I think I could have been great for that. I think,
Uh-huh.
I think I just have the image and the sound and the whole package ready to go,
Yeah.
personally. And, I think it's a totally sellable product. And the fact that this current industry doesn't even think that's good enough, to sell, is, it's just kind of telling of the times. And either I complain
Mhm.
about it or I just roll with it, and I just say, well, then I got to do what I got to do to keep myself doing the thing that I love to do, which is record albums and tour.
Yeah. And I
And I
think
just
ultimately
wanted.
you're better off building your own ladder than
Oh,
climbing
for
someone
sure.
else's.
Oh, for sure. It's more the thing that, like, just being able to financially do all the things I want to do.
Sure.
And because I I want to, I would love to be able to get to theater level, to play.
Mhm.
What's the place in Winnipeg? Centennial Concert Hall? Is that still around?
Yeah. How
Uh,
do you, we talk, people don't know. We exchange emails, we talk occasionally. And I am always amazed at your obscure knowledge of like Winnipeg. We were talking
I know.
about public TV in Winnipeg at one point, and you knew it was like you lived here.
Yeah, I know a lot about a lot of, like, places on the map that most people don't know.
Yeah.
Just out of, like, being a rock music fan and
Yeah. Well, obviously,
historian,
yeah. Yeah.
and like the places that things happened, and just being like, oh, I want to go to that place because this happened there, and I want to go to that place because that happened there. And yeah,
Hmm.
Winnipeg's got a lot of great rock history from the early 70s that I'm a big fan of. So yeah, I know about these places. But anyway, I'd love to play the Centennial Concert Hall someday,
Uh-huh.
if they still have bands play there.
Yeah, oh
Um,
yeah, they still have bands play there. You should apply to they have every year in June, late June, early July, they have a jazz festival. But it's like, jazz festivals aren't jazz festivals anymore. Like
right.
they'll have the Roots or they'll have, all kinds of things. But I mean they do a lot of club level stuff at that
Hmm.
that and there's even a free outdoor stage that they have in a downtown square.
You'll have to email this info to me, unless you want
Yeah,
to tell
no
me about it
worries.
right now. But
No,
yeah,
I mean,
email.
yeah, I'll
Yeah,
email it to you. No worries.
that'd be great. Thank you.
And that'd be a great thing for you, I think, too, because, again, it's part of a festival, so you have kind of a built-in walk-in trade, and that's
Yeah,
definitely you'd fit in.
yeah, and again, like, I'll go anywhere they'll have me. Like, I
Yeah,
really will. I'll play anywhere to anybody. I like to. The only problem with doing gigs where there's only like two people in the room, I don't mind doing it, but there's a certain amount of energy I put out in my shows. And if I can't get that energy coming back to me because there's only a few people at the club that night
yeah,
and they love the show,
yeah,
but they're not able, as a small collective, give that energy back to me, by the next
right,
day I'm like almost sulking because I'm so drained physically from what I
sure.
just did. So, but it's what I love to do. So yeah, I'll play for anybody, anytime, anywhere.
Right. Maybe this is a question you don't want to answer because it's kind of pulling back the curtain a bit. But I mean, are you able to? Is being Nick Vivid all you do for a living?
um Pretty much, yes. I would say yes, 99% of the time.
Okay, so you're not like a music teacher in
No,
Jamaica,
I
Queens, or
I've
anything.
I've tried all these things. I
Uh-huh.
once owned a recording studio in Manhattan for a couple of years. Didn't enjoy that so much. It was okay, but I realized I enjoy recording myself more than I enjoy recording other people.
Hmm.
Uh, I've taught music in the past, but I didn't really enjoy it. I
Hmm.
used to fix guitars and music gear, and I
Hmm.
didn't really enjoy it. So
So it's come down to
yeah,
this is the only thing you like.
it, yeah. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
I don't
Uh-huh.
like doing anything else. My girlfriend works in the TV and film industry, in the costume and wardrobe department,
Mm.
for TV shows and movies. And I basically just work on music all day.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
yeah,
here's the thing.
that's
That is a
basically it.
level of success in and of itself that I think, most people don't get to achieve, I mean, I've talked to all kinds of people, obviously from, neighborhood bands to people who fill stadiums. And from my perspective, as soon as you're able to do that for a living, if you can pay your bills with
Hmm.
your art and be comfortable doing it and not,
Yeah,
going cap in
because we do,
hand,
right. We don't have massive overhead.
yeah,
We make a lot of meals at home. We like
yeah,
to live
yeah,
on a
yeah,
budget.
yeah,
If things really go to hell, we can live in our van. We always joke about that. Um,
uh-huh,
and again, it's just about, I love it so much. It's not it's I was talking with a buddy of mine about this. What are you willing to sacrifice for it?
exactly.
And it's not about like, because I know people are like, oh, I wish I could do that. Well, are you willing to give up all the stuff you got for it? Because you
Yeah,
might have to. And
yeah,
most people would say no.
yeah,
And so I give up what other people, would want to have, that I just, again, it's all I
yep,
want. So I would just rather be relatively poor and sit here with a guitar in my lap and work on music all day than
yeah.
to, do
Be a
something else with
barista.
my time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. Well, but that's again, you meet all kinds of people who say, "Oh, I wish I could. I wish I could." Well, here's the thing. It's like, okay, but if you don't have to wish, you like you said, you can just go do it. And I immediately know that those people are never going to do it because they would be doing it. You know what I mean? It's like the
Yeah,
people who
and
sit and say, "I wish I could," or "I'd love to do
I
this,"
mean,
or "I'd love to
I
do
mean,
that."
I will
Yeah.
say, I am extremely blessed. I mean, I'm absolutely blessed that I get to be in the position I'm in, where I can at this time
Hmm.
not have to work another job, and I can at the
Right.
moment be Nick Vivid pretty much 24/7.
Hmm.
Um,
But you
uh,
made that happen. That didn't just, nobody waved a magic wand and said,
no,
"I anoint you Nick Vivid." That is
no,
the result of every decision, big and small, that you have made
yes.
over the past how many ever years. So I mean, it's yeah, and gratitude is a lovely thing and all that, but it's also that's you made your own luck,
Yeah,
you know.
absolutely. And absolutely. I do believe that. Yeah. And I
Totally.
think, and I still feel very unlucky, but I feel like, oh man, I should be, I should be bigger than this right now. Why do I even have to wait to go on tour? So it's like, there's always part of me that's not satisfied,
Well, sure,
like,
because if you
but
were, then you wouldn't be doing what you're doing, right?
yeah,
You'd just be sitting back listening to your album and going, "Fuck, I'm good. Fuck, I'm
yeah,
good."
exactly. And I really, there's other places I want to go with this thing. And again, it's
Mhm.
all about the money. I mean, I was
Yeah,
watching a documentary on the band Kansas. Remember those guys? And
sure.
they were talking about how they when they were first signed, they were signed with Don Kirshner, the music
Yeah, yeah.
producer, and he was the he'd put like a couple $1 million into those guys in the 70s before they had
Yeah.
a hit.
That was the way it worked, man. Yeah.
And that was the way it worked. But like it's like you can't just like, I know people who are like, well, I put my song on Spotify and it didn't make any money, and you go, yeah,
The amount of songs I get from people who are like, "This is my first song." It's like, why? Why are you sending me your first song? You have no
yeah.
business sending anybody your first song. You probably
And
have no
even,
business sending anybody your first 100 songs, you know?
and that may be true. And but I also think there's like people don't understand how much money it really takes
Mm-hmm.
to, and that you gotta be okay with that. You gotta be
Yeah.
okay. Like Don Kirshner was okay with losing $1 million on the band Kansas. So
Yeah.
like you have to be okay with maybe losing up to $1 million on yourself. I mean,
Yeah.
a proverbial $1 million, maybe,
Yeah.
maybe figuratively, but you have to invest everything you got into what you do if you really if you, even if to even have a snowball's chance in hell at getting where you want to go with it. And I again, right now what I can do is I can put this outfit on and I can, put my jewelry on, which I forgot to wear for this. Oh my God, I
Damn it.
can't believe it. Yeah.
Damn it.
Scrap the whole thing. We have to start over.
It's okay. We'll Photoshop it in. We'll put it in post.
But
Put some giant Super Bowl
can't
rings
believe
on
I
you.
did that. Oh my God. What are people going to think of me?
It's all
Um,
over. That was it. That's where his career took a
my
turn.
image,
It
my
was
public
all
image has
over.
been shattered. So, but that's what I can do today. All I can do is be Nick Vivid today, and try to do that to the best of my ability, and
And what more can
show
we
up.
ask than for you
Yeah,
to be Nick Vivid?
show
That is
up.
all.
Just show up for my life, show up for my
That's right.
dream, and just keep. I've friends in the computer hacker community, and their whole thing is that they're like the underdogs, and their whole thing is that we're gonna lose, but we're gonna try anyway. And my
Yeah.
whole thing sometimes can be like, yeah, I'm probably gonna lose, but my life is gonna be dedicated to giving it the best shot I got. And
And here's the thing, but what I say is you've already won
yeah,
because you know who you are and you get to be who you are and you get to do what you want to do. Maybe not, yes, at the grand level that you hope to do it one day, but again, you're not a guy putting on a suit and tie
yeah,
and going
yeah,
to work at the Gap or whatever the fuck for 8 hours a day and take shit from a crappy boss and then
yeah,
come home and try and grind out a couple of song ideas before you collapse and go to sleep and repeat that until you die. You've
yeah,
achieved the success of being able to manifest all of
something.
these, yeah, all of the, well, something, yeah, all of these dreams and goals and things that you wanted, and you've got a path and so
Yeah,
no, you've already, you can't lose. And
yeah,
besides,
yeah.
the kid did it again, batting a thousand,
Batting 1,000.
batting a thousand with this album
This
again.
album's perfect, right? It's perfect. It's like 10 out of 10. Every single.
The
What's the
first
Ian?
Cars album
Mm,
and this Nick Vivid album, it's a toss up in terms
That's
of the flawlessness. It's like.
yeah, that first Cars album. It's got, it's not perfect. It's not perfect. Let's
Oh,
just.
what? What? I'm in touch with your world is not good enough for you?
Yeah, I don't
Come
know.
on. Let the good times roll. Best friend's girl. Just what I needed.
I
First three
remember
songs.
I
First
remember
three songs.
playing that album for my girlfriend one night. She's like, "Are you playing the Cars' greatest hits?" I'm like, "No, I'm playing their first album."
Well, that's how they used to refer to it.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
how that's what they called it.
It
So,
is. It is. Did you hear that? There was one interview they did before Ben Orr died, and it was a
mm,
great interview. I'd never heard anybody say this before. And they were like, because they used to play covers and clubs and stuff like that when they were first coming up. And they said, what was interesting about having a hit song is that when you after it becomes a hit and you start playing it for the audience, it's like playing a cover again. And
yeah.
I was like, that's interesting to feel that way about your own music, that they become so popular at some point. You start feeling like you're playing covers of somebody else's music because it's no longer
Yeah.
yours or something. I've never heard anybody refer to it like that. I,
Well, yeah. I
hope
mean, Chrissy
someday to
Hine
have
called
that
the
experience.
Yeah, well, Chrissy Hine called the Pretenders a Pretenders tribute band, and she says that with love, like it's like
Well,
keeping
yeah.
their thing. And I think a lot of bands end up. I mean, so I think Springsteen right now is a Springsteen tribute. I think once you reach that crazy level where your songs have just permeated the universe, you can't help but become a tribute to yourself in some ways. But I know what you're talking about. There are those songs like I can't believe anybody wrote Gloria. I can't believe Van Morrison sat down one day and wrote Gloria because it just
Yeah.
seems like it has always existed and should be carved into a cave somewhere, right?
Yeah, there's those
You know?
songs that are just absolutely timeless, that are part of
Yeah.
the culture, zeitgeist of our entire sonic ecosystem, and
Yeah,
they're
exactly.
if it's like if they didn't exist, you would feel like how would that have been possible for there to be no Hotel California,
Yeah,
or
yeah, exactly.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
it would have been a very weird world without that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, all right, my friend. I think we have I think I have taken up enough of your time and I think we've taken
Okay.
up enough of everybody else's time. But I mean, I could sit and talk to you, for hours.
Oh yeah, this is a blast. I'm so glad we get to do this again. So yeah, we'll
Yes.
do it
Well,
again
we'll have to do it more often. We should just start doing this.
every week. Let's go.
Yeah. Because the world needs another, two nerds talking about music podcast.
I would love it. Yeah. Yeah. Totally needs it. Totally needs it.
All right, brother. Listen, I love this album sincerely.
Oh,
I love
thank
the
you.
fact that you've evolved and grown on this, because it'd be real easy, I think, for you to just dip back into that vault of 1,000 old songs and go, this one and this one and this one and this one. But it's very clear you didn't do that, and it's very clear you've challenged yourself and moved excuse me, moved forward, moved ahead, evolved with this, and that to me is one of the things I really appreciate about it, that you're not treading water with this stuff. And I don't know what to say. It's great music,
Thank you.
and I hope you get to do everything you want to do. And I'll email you that stuff, and maybe we'll actually one day have a beer together in the same city at the same time.
That would be amazing. All
It
right.
would
Thank
be
you so
amazing.
much, Joe. Appreciate it,
Uh,
my friend.
Always a pleasure. You have a good rest of the day, and we'll talk to you down the road some more.
Sounds good. See you
All
later.
right.